So this is going to be a bit of a different one. A lot of the time I start these videos with this big spiel about what the franchise in question means to me. In this case, everything I've known about Scary Movie has basically been learned in the last 3 weeks, and also I didn't really like it. In preparation for the newest release, I only watched the first 2 movies, and I can say that they are both very dated and gross. For my part, the second one is a little bit better because it has higher highs, but to balance the scales, it also has lower lows. Scary Movie is kind of a perfect representation of a movie franchise that is consistently mid. Some ups, some downs, but it usually always lands in the same place. But Scary Movie has been dead for a while. A lot of this style came from the 2000s comedy scene, and since that style has aged way out, this new installment in the franchise would need to be a lot different. It had potential to revitalize the comedy parody genre, and it also had potential to be the worst yet, and I just couldn't temper my curiosity. So here we are. Spoilers ahead, though if you've seen the recent Scream movies, you already know what's going to happen in these anyways. Since discussing the plot of this type of movie is usually really confusing and hectic, given that there isn't much of a plot at all, we're going to start with the characters instead. The legacy characters are by far carrying this movie, which I don't think is a surprise to anyone. Anna Faris's Cindy and Regina Hall's Brenda have been icons of the franchise since its inception, and they continue to be highlights. The main problem with that duo is that they are overshadowed pretty hard by Shorty and Ray, which is almost definitely because the Wayans brothers wanted to make a big thing out of this being their return to the series. I do actually enjoy the two of them as well, mostly. Ray is still mostly a gay jokes character, but Shawn Wayans really ups the chaos in his performance, as is shown in his first scene parodying Sinners, where he goes absolutely wild in church. That scene is a lot to take in, and kind of annoying sometimes, but I appreciate that he really brought an insane energy to a character that was usually one of the more flat and straightforward cast members. Shorty, on the other hand, has always been off the wall, and he hasn't changed a bit. If there's one person who seems like he hasn't aged a day, it's Marlon Wayans. Except, with his face. So both of these performances are hits, but it is a little sad that you'd probably think they're the main characters instead of the funny sidekicks if this was your introduction to the series. The new cast is a hell of a mixed bag. Olivia Rose Keegan is fronting the group as Cindy's daughter, and she's literally just doing an Anna Faris impression, but it works pretty well, and I'd say she's one of the funniest young actors here. Savannah Lee Nassif is also doing a pretty decent acting job, though I just can't stand her Wednesday parody character 90% of the time. And then every other young cast member is, to me, a complete flop. Jess, Dee, Elle, and even Brad, who they probably could have convinced Mason Gooding to play himself, made me laugh once each at the most. At least Doofy's portion of the movie was pretty good, even if it was quick, and literally no one spoke a word about him after he died. I'm now going to attempt to analyze the plot of this movie, but I need to preface this by saying that Scary Movie 6 is hardly a movie at all. This is a loosely connected series of skits that the Wayans brothers made up, and the plot of Scream 5 is essentially happening in the background. Cindy and her daughter return to her hometown to visit her other daughter in the hospital, and then the majority of the characters die. Most of the scenes don't actually have anything to do with this, though, because they are mainly one-to-one parodies of 2020's movies. And I would also say that there are definitely too many. The Scary Movie franchise has regressed back to the originals formula of near line-by-line recreations of already existing movies, and that was never something I enjoyed. Typically, the jokes that are original to the movie are funnier than the ones that are tweaked lines from different films, but I guess the Wayans disagree. There's a parody of the Michael trailer with Kenan Thompson that actually was pretty fun. There's a parody of Weapons that has the most bizarrely terrible child actor ADR I've ever seen and will ever see. There's a parody of The Substance that goes on for way longer than you'd think it would. But by far the most shocking parody, which I'm still teetering between loving and hating, is the Shorty K-pop Demon Hunters karaoke trip scene. I find it hard to describe this scene any other way. You'd think that they would stick to horror movies and black culture for this movie because that's what the scary movies usually do, but nah. The K-pop Demon Hunters segment of this movie, in which Shorty, sounding like Beast Boy from Teen Titans, does a rendition of Golden in which he professes his love for weed, is potentially the most insane thing I've watched in theaters in my entire life. That being said, there's a part of me that respects it. Skip to the end, and we finally get a moment of actual plot where Ghostface is revealed. 6 different times. Initially, you get Elle and the Jack Quaid character until they get killed by Anthony Anderson and Shaq, who then get killed by Shorty and Ray. This whole ending did start to remind me of Deadpool 3, as it felt a lot like a careless victory lap where the creator just threw a bunch of shit in the movie that they thought was funny without care for, like, a plot. But while Ryan Reynolds was doing that in an established universe that he had just been allowed into, this feels a lot more like the Wayans brothers reclaiming control of the franchise that was theirs in the first place. Which does make it more likable, even if it's still batshit confusing and not really that funny. I'm gonna rapid fire my last notes because I don't have another major section to cover. First of all, the music is pretty horrendous in this. Every time we cut to a new scene, we get an obnoxiously loud club track that makes the movie feel way more artificial than where it came from. Hand in hand with that is that the movie is just really colorless. It's been infected with Hollywood desaturation fatigue, which is weird because I figured if any movie would remain as vibrant, it would be this. Some of the jokes are just terrible, which isn't new for Scary Movie, but it's the lack of creativity that really ruins some of their attempts at humor. There's a Diddy joke, surprising no one, and it massively lampshades Brenda's history with Diddy, which was something that was previously funny but will now always just remind me of a scene where a character blankly states, "That didn't age well," as if the audience needed to be told that. And tell me what other movie you're going to get the line, "You are about to identify as dead" from. That whole subway scene, as well as the movie's general treatment of queer characters, is one of its worst qualities. Not just because it's offensive, but because it's not funny. There is nothing to these jokes other than being trans is funny, and let's be honest, it's not. It is especially weird when the Wayans are supportive of gay rights, and Marlon Wayans has a trans child. They know how to write jokes, so I don't know why they still fall back on old crutches. I'm thinking a 4.5 out of 10 for this Scary Movie. Its entertainment value is about the same as the other ones I've watched, but it's even less coherent and a lot less self-aware. It is sort of amazing how consistent Scary Movie is at hitting one good joke for every bad joke. For every Kevin Hart short joke, you get a line like, "We're Candace Owens white." Usually, though, the gold mine is in the background. Scary Movie, and parody movies in general, seem to do best with their understated visual gags, and I wish they'd focus more on that than exaggerated pop culture references. But let's be honest, they'll never change. And that's both annoying and slightly beautiful. Would I recommend Scary Movie? Probably not. If you have the free time, sure. It's not fun. But you should probably just watch the Among Us show instead. Bye now.